Around 50 million years ago, a colossal impact occurred. The Indian subcontinent, adrift across the ocean, slammed into the Eurasian landmass. This cosmic geological event did not merely forge mountain ranges, it permanently altered the face of our planet. What erupted from that cataclysmic collision became the highest and most extensive highland on Earth, the Tibetan Plateau. In this rarefied, frigid atmosphere, a singularly unique world materialized. Isolated valleys, hallowed peaks, secluded lakes, and spiritual traditions evolving in near total separation from the outside world. The splendor here resides not only in the vistas, but in the profound depth of time and absolute solitude. The Kham region in eastern Tibet is where 3 of Asia's greatest rivers, the Mekong, the Salween, and the Yangtze, run concurrently, carving through deep, jagged gorges. This landscape is simultaneously dramatic and deeply isolated, forming a formidable natural fortress. This is Kham, a historic Tibetan territory possessing its own distinct language, culture, and unique monastic architectural style. For centuries, Khamdo marked the genesis of the Tea-Horse Road, an ancient trade artery where caravans hauled pu'er tea from Yunnan, traversing treacherous passes to reach Lhasa. This route bore more than mere cargo. It served as the cultural and religious lifeline that catalyzed Tibet's spiritual evolution. Today, a modern artery has superseded it, cutting across these ancient lands. National Highway 318. This is one of China's most epic and iconic roads, stretching over 5,000 kilometers from Shanghai to the Nepalese border. Yet, it is the particular segment winding through Kham and toward Lhasa that has truly ascended into legend. National Highway 318, occasionally dubbed the Road to Heaven, traverses more than a dozen harrowing high-altitude mountain passes. Travelers navigate past snow-capped summits, surging glacial rivers, and stretches of road adorned with countless, brightly colored prayer flags. For many devout Buddhists, trekking the entire Tibetan section has become a supreme form of pilgrimage, transforming the physical journey itself into an act of spiritual devotion. As the artery penetrates deeper into Kham, the expression of devotion manifests in diverse forms. Along the banks of the Lankang River in Markham, a startling visual spectacle emerges. Hundreds of ancient salt pans are carved directly into sheer red sandstone cliffs, forming geometric terrace layers that resemble a colossal, woven tapestry. These millennia-old salt fields are believed to be over 1,300 years old, and remarkably, they are still harvested entirely by hand today. Each pan is not bequeathed as simple property, but rather as a form of spiritual inheritance, stewarded by a local family. Many adherents believe the labor itself is intrinsically karmic, a solemn duty bound to their ancestral lineage and physical location. The salt is drawn not from the river but from a nearby sacred hot spring. Before each season commences, families conduct fervent rituals and offer prayers, a perpetual reminder that the work is equally physical and spiritual. In ancient Tibetan society, Markham salt was once held to be more precious than silver. It was carried across the mountains by yak caravans and traded along the Tea-Horse Road. At the descent of the sun, the salt terraces shimmer with hues of pink and white. The workers' tempo is deliberate, slow, shaped by the stark landscape and their unwavering belief. Tibet's extensive permafrost layer renders the construction of roads and railways an immensely terrifying engineering challenge. But along National Highway 318, this technical struggle has become an indispensable element of the epic journey. Nowhere is this more visibly etched into the landscape than at the notorious new Zhongdian Wei 72 turns. This treacherous section plunges over 1,000 meters through 72 hairpin bends meticulously carved into a near-vertical cliff face. With numerous sections lacking safety guardrails and thick mist frequently rolling in, it remains one of the most perilously dangerous segments of the entire highway. Once traversed by tea and military convoys, these Wei 72 turns are now viewed as a profound test of courage and a physical path some pilgrims walk to cleanse their karma. Mani stones line the roadside like silent guardians, placed to consecrate the passage and shield those who traverse it. Not every sacred landscape of calm is easily accessed along the main highway. Some necessitate a detour into a more profound stillness. Ding is a small, wind-scoured settlement that feels like the periphery of the inhabited world, where the road gives way and the dominance of nature begins. Immediately past the town, the scenery transforms abruptly. The Ding Red Mountains loom without warning, their jagged, rust-colored peaks deeply stained by iron. Locals hold them sacred. Some adherents believe powerful guardian spirits dwell amongst the ridges. Others perceive the faces of deities etched into the raw cliff faces. High above the rust-red cliffs, Xigu Monastery materializes in an almost impossible posture of defiance. Built directly into the mountain, it clutches the sheer rock face with no evident path of entry or exit. This is the world's highest monastery, clinging nearly 5,000 meters above sea level. Like countless other cliffside monasteries in Tibet, its isolation serves a singular function: to facilitate deep meditation and uninterrupted retreat. Hermitages are scattered across the surrounding peaks, many inhabited by monks and nuns who maintain absolute silence for months, sometimes decades. This isolation is the supreme symbol of renunciation and the direct path to enlightenment. As the journey proceeds, the topography begins to violently shift. We descend into a region that feels like a world apart. Nyingchi, Lindsay, frequently referred to as the Switzerland of Tibet for its unexpected alpine scenery. Occupying a lower elevation than much of the plateau, Nyingchi unveils Tibet's softer disposition, a milder climate, richer vegetation, and a vibrancy seldom encountered in the harsher highlands. This unique ecological blend is the sole location in Tibet where subtropical forests flourish directly beneath high alpine ridges, a fusion found nowhere else on the vast plateau. And concealed within this lush, dramatic terrain lies one of Earth's most extraordinary natural features, the Yarlung Changpo Grand Canyon, the deepest canyon on the planet. Here, the Himalayas violently plunge into rainforest, and the land abruptly fractures. The Yarlung Tsangpo River, which transforms into the Brahmaputra, carves a savage path through sheer cliffs, forging a rift so deep and remote it is dubbed the world's last great uncharted gorge. With vertical depths exceeding 5,380 meters, it eclipses even the Grand Canyon. Monsoonal rainfall from India fuels this region, facilitating a rare convergence of ecosystems. At the canyon's very heart, the river executes a dramatic 180-degree turn around, a towering sentinel, Namcha Barawa. This peak, soaring to 7,782 meters, is the easternmost major Himalayan summit and one of the least conquered. It is the Shy Mountain, perpetually shrouded in a veil of cloud. Namcha Barawa carries profound spiritual significance. It is embodied as the male deity, the spear that pierces the sky, standing sentinel at the gate of Pimako, a hidden land of spiritual awakening. Local traditions maintain that only those blessed with pure karma are permitted to glimpse its summit clearly. One of the best vantage points to behold this elusive giant is from the Sajila Pass, a winding road that ascends above the tree line. On rare, clear mornings, the clouds dramatically part, revealing Namcha Barawa rising above the horizon like a singular vision. Here, the boundaries between the material and the spiritual blur. The prayer flags lining the pass bear 5 symbolic colors: blue for the sky, white for the air, red for fire, green for water, and yellow for earth. They are lifted by the wind as consecrated offerings, reminding the traveler that this is a sacred threshold. And no visit to Nyingchi is complete without witnessing one of its most ephemeral wonders. Just downstream from the canyon, the atmosphere softens considerably. In late March and early April, delicate peach blossoms erupt across the highland fields, painting the landscape in a fragile pink against a backdrop of imposing snow-capped peaks. The startling contrast between the rugged mountains and the delicate flowers creates an almost magical surrealism. The locals reverently call this the Peach Blossom Valley. Leaving the fertile valleys of Ningchi behind, the journey presses westward, crossing high passes, expansive plateaus, and ever-shifting skies. The elevation climbs relentlessly, the air thins, the roads grow desolate, and the silence settles into an ancient stillness. We finally reach the Ali region, one of the most remote and awe-inspiring corners of the Tibetan plateau. Often designated the roof of the world, Ali sits at altitudes exceeding 4,500 meters above sea level. This is the Third Pole Desert, a realm of wind-scoured plains, glacial lakes, and a silence so profound it feels spiritual. Here, emptiness transforms into presence, and every horizon stretches toward the infinite. Where the valley constricts and the horizon dissolves, the land mutates into something entirely alien, the Zada Earth Forest. This is a dizzying labyrinth of jagged, friable mudstone spires, sculpted by the relentless forces of wind, water, and deep geological time. From a distance, it resembles a forgotten city, half swallowed by stone. This vast formation is the largest of its kind in Tibet, and arguably the most surreal. Some towers soar higher than 40 Wookiee meters, their twisted forms like petrified flames. And as the setting sun casts impossibly long shadows across the valley, it is easy to concede that something once thrived here. As we venture deeper into this rocky maze, the line between geology and history begins to fray. Caves appear etched into the cliffs. Crumbling staircases wind their way up the stone. This is where one of Tibet's grandest mysteries lingers, the ruins of the Guge Kingdom. The scene is cinematic. Red rock walls, staircases cut into the mountainside, and cave temples that open to vibrant murals, still vivid after 1,000 years. No one knows with definitive certainty why Guge collapsed. Some speculate invasion and internal betrayal. Others theorize a spiritual decline, swallowed by the desert it once sought to dominate. Today, the site is eerily quiet, a city reduced to dust, guarded only by time and stone. As the stone walls of Guj fade behind us, the journey continues across open plains and rising wind. Signs of human life grow scarce. The air thins. The silence deepens. Then, the signs return. All indicators point in one singular direction. And rising from the plateau with near-perfect symmetry, a mountain unlike any other begins to dominate the frame. This is Mount Kailash. At 6,638 meters, it is not the highest summit in the Himalayas, but for millions, it is the most sacred. Tibetan Buddhists, Hindus, Jains, and Bon followers all venerate it as the center of the universe, the nexus where the physical and spiritual worlds converge. Its 4 distinct faces align with the cardinal directions, and from its slopes flow 4 great rivers: the Indus, Sutlej, Brahmaputra, and Karnali, as if the mountain itself breathes life into half of Asia. No one ascends Kailash, not because it is unclimbable, but because it is forbidden. Setting foot upon its slopes is considered a sacrilege against the divine. Instead, pilgrims circuit its base, a tradition known as the kora, which has endured for countless centuries. This ritual circumnavigation lies at the heart of devotion. A walk of 52 kilometers around the base is believed to cleanse the sins of a lifetime. To complete it, 108 palm times is to achieve proximity to ultimate enlightenment. Immediately south of Mount Kailash lies Lake Manasaravar, the holiest lake in Asia and a luminous mirror to the divine. According to Hindu belief, the god Brahma first envisioned this lake in his mind before its manifestation. To touch its waters is said to wash away the accumulated karma of countless rebirths. During the Sagadawa full moon, it is believed that deities descend to bathe in the lake, blessing the water and all who approach. In Ali, the land is layered with narrative. But in Nak, those narratives recede. What remains is sheer exposure, wind without shelter, cold without pause, space without end. Lying at an elevation exceeding 4,500 meters, the Changtang Plateau strips everything down to its brutal essence. Yet, life somehow persists. It is a beauty that is not immediately obvious, but if you linger long enough, it penetrates the soul. Shimmering at 4,718 meters above sea level, Lake Namso lies like a colossal mirror placed flat against the sky. As one of the highest saltwater lakes globally, it is known in Tibetan belief as the Heavenly Lake, sacred and profoundly linked to the nearby Mount Nojin Kangtsang. On the lake's secluded northwestern shore stands the sacred Elephant Gate, a natural stone arch reaching into the water like the trunk of a giant. Unfurling from beneath this arch is one of Tibet's most revered vistas: holy peaks, an immense sky, and the endless blue expanse of Namtso. Moving away from the isolated northern reaches, the journey descends toward central Tibet, where the topography softens, barley fields ripple under expansive skies, and river valleys cradle ancient villages. This is the Shigatse region, long celebrated as the granary of Tibet, and once the proud seat of the mighty Kangtsang dynasty. Today, Shigatse persists as a spiritual nexus, a place where pilgrims pause before continuing their quest westward to Tibet's most sacred sites. Dominating the city is Tashil Hunpo Monastery, founded in 1447 by the first Dalai Lama, and later becoming the seat of the Panchen Lama, second only to the Dalai Lama in spiritual hierarchy. From Shigatse, the road leads southeast to a place heavy with the memory of conflict, Gyanse Dzong Fortress. Perched upon a hilltop overlooking the Nyang River Valley, it is one of Tibet's best preserved fortresses, historically guarding the route between Lhasa and western Tibet. This fortress bears a tragic legacy. In 1904, it became the nexus of fierce resistance during a British military expedition. The fortress walls still bear the violent impact. Scorched stone, fractured ramparts, a quiet, permanent record of the siege that transpired here. At the fortress's foot lies Palkhor Monastery, home to the towering Gyangze Kumbum, the largest stupa in Tibet. With 9 ascending tiers and 108 kut chapels, it forms a walkable mandala, guiding visitors through symbolic layers of enlightenment. Leaving Gyanse, the route enters broader valleys and begins a steady, arduous ascent into higher terrain. The path to the next challenge does not begin with a single step, but with 108 hairpin turns etched into the mountainside. This dizzying stretch leads toward Gawula Pass, precariously perched at an elevation exceeding but 5,000 meters above sea level. In Tibetan tradition, 108 is not a common number. It is sacred, symbolizing spiritual completion. At the pass's apex, the horizon unfolds in breathtaking scope. A towering wall of white giants emerges. 5 of the world's tallest peaks stand shoulder to shoulder, while the road snakes out behind like a silver thread. At the very terminus of the long road, the land opens wide. At this altitude of over 5,000 meters lies Rongbuk Base Camp, a desolate plateau where the mountain unveils its true scale. Though the summit is still more than 20 kilometers distant, Everest feels overwhelmingly present even from this vantage. The Tibetans revere Everest as Chomolungma, the goddess mother of the world. Not far from Everest, the landscape finally relents. Snow and rock yield to quiet fields of green and gold. The farmlands of Tingri are among the highest on Earth. The Shannon region is where Tibetan civilization first took root, a place where profound myth and concrete history intertwine. Rising above all is Yamdrok Palace, reputed to be the very first building in Tibet, symbolically reflecting the shift from ancient kingship to Buddhist devotion. Few places embody this heritage more vividly than Yamdrok Lake, a vast, still mirror cradled by snow-capped peaks. The Tibetans describe it as the mirror of the sky resting on the chest of the earth. Commonly called the turquoise heart of Tibet, it is one of the region's 3 holiest lakes. Locals hold the belief that the lake's vitality is inextricably linked to the survival of Tibet. Should Yamdrok ever run dry, the land would become uninhabitable. Finally, in Lhasa, the spiritual capital of Tibet, the pilgrimage of the faithful converges. At 3,650 meters, Lhasa has endured as the cultural and religious center for over 1,000 years.
The Barkor circuit, which encircles Jokhang Temple, becomes a perpetual, living river of devotion.
Jokhang Temple, erected in the Iwe 7th Yuan century, is deemed the most sacred temple in all of Tibet, the undisputed heart of Tibetan Buddhism. Housed within is the Jowo Shakyamuni, Tibet's most revered statue, believed to depict the Buddha himself and to have been blessed by him during his lifetime. Dominating the Lhasa skyline is the Potala Palace, Tibet's most iconic edifice. A massive 13-story structure with over 1,000 ekaos rooms built like an impenetrable fortress of faith. Once the winter residence of the Dalai Lamas, it stood as the political and spiritual heart of the Tibetan leadership for centuries. Despite the world's convulsions around it, the Potala remains utterly unmoving. It stands as a monument not merely to history, but to the unyielding strength of belief. At sunrise, its formidable silhouette emerges through the mountain mist, not as a relic, but as a living symbol. Here, above the city, one is reminded that in Tibet, tradition does not simply fade. It continues silently, faithfully, and always upward. Discover the world. Explore the extraordinary. We'll see you on the next adventure.